Hello, class. We're joined again by Tim O'Brien. Thanks again for joining us, Tim.
My pleasure.
So explain how a person who is not yet working in IT project management can best develop their competencies so they can get a job in the field.
Well, I always like having somebody else pay for my learning. So I would urge you to try to get a job in the field so that someone else will pay you to become good at it. There are a number of opportunities. State government, large companies have PMO offices, project management offices. Getting a job as a beginner or, an entry-level position there would be a good way to learn on someone else's nickel. They're going to teach you how to do program and project management using all the tools that, you kind of come to know, Microsoft Project and things like that. And then you'll have something on your resume that you can actually sell. If you can't get an entry-level position of some sort like that, then going out and taking classes is always a good thing. There are good classes online. Coursera, Udemy have good classes and this sort of thing. There are local chapters for people that want to join PMI. They can go introduce themselves and just do the old-fashioned hobnobbing with local folks at a lunch and try to get a job that way. And then, of course, you learn things and just be pleasant.
There you go.
Always hard getting the first job.
Yeah, exactly. So do you find certifications like the PMP, Scrum Master, ITIL useful or
yes
getting
and no.
a job?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think that going through the process of learning how those certifications work and then passing the exam is always a good thing, especially in ITIL. People wouldn't commonly run across ITIL, the whole, the 5 different parts of ITIL until they actually studied for the exam and took it. Mm-hmm. The other one, Scrum Master and PMP, I have seen people who are so religious about it that it does them a huge disservice in the field. They have the knowledge, but then it becomes the only tool in their tool chest. And they look at every problem like it has to be applied the full-on way that PMI says or the Scrum way. Sometimes projects need adjustments, and people who are so authoritarian about their style don't make those adjustments, and they become a detriment to the project. So my answer is yes and no.
If you were hiring, would you look for a certification?
I do, but my first question is, riddle me this, and then I present them with a scenario that tells me if they're going to be too rigorous about it or not.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what it really gets down to in everything, you want to be practical. You want to use tools where they're appropriate. And, PMPs, ITIL Foundation certificates, those kinds of things, becoming a Scrum Master, those are all nice things, but you want to make sure that you apply them in an appropriate way.
Right, good. So tell us how you planned your own career in project management and IT. Well, you don't really do a lot of project management anymore, but how did you plan your own career?
I can't say that I actually ever planned to become a project manager. It just happened sort of organically.
Right.
I was a technical guy. First it was accounting, and you get pushed up the ladder so that you're running larger and larger teams, and then pretty soon management becomes easy. You learn certain styles about how things get done. Mm-hmm. Later on, when I went into the technical side, I started off doing development work and architecting, designing systems, and then pretty soon you get pushed up the ladder and finally become a CTO. And you do management, but it's not project level management. You're managing the whole portfolio of products that you're trying to push out the door or ship to market. And so you're talking to people in the marketplace and trying to figure out what are the features that they need. So there's a lot of product management rather than just project management.
Right.
So I didn't really plan my career. It just happened really well for me. I wouldn't recommend that.
What's that?
It was fun, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would plan
it. So finally, what advice would you give others who wish to enter the field of IT project management? Where can they go to learn competencies and move up the ladder?
Well, learning all those things you talked about earlier, understanding ITIL, COBIT, Scrum, or other agile technologies, understanding what PMP are. If you put all those tools in your tool chest, that offers you a lot in the way of how do you manage projects. And and then experience. Just doing a lot of projects is really appropriate. One of the biggest things you can ever do for yourself is to find yourself a mentor. When you land your first job, find yourself a mentor who can teach you how to do it right. And hopefully that mentor is available. I was really fortunate that I had some of the harshest guys that I worked for many years ago when I began my career back at Deloitte. And they were, at the time I was very angry at them for how mean they were. But later on, I'm thanking them over and over and over again for the lessons they taught me. And now late in my career, I'm hoping I can pass along those lessons to someone else. So finding a mentor is a really important thing. And you should do that in every job you ever get.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tim.
You're welcome.